Hello, I'm Valerie McLennan. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. I hope you're well. This is my spiritual channel, Valerie Mac, Scottish spiritual, and very funny, and literally. I hope you're well, as I said, and if you've been following me a while, thank you very much, and I hope you continue to follow me throughout 2026. Thanking you. And if you're a new listener, thank you very much. And may I ask you to listen to my previous podcasts. They're full of wisdom. They are full of wisdom. Wit, sometimes burst into song, and make you laugh. All of the above. So I hope you take a few minutes out of your life to listen to the previous podcasts. It will give you some insight into the workings of the workings, that's easy for you to say, the workings of my mind. And I share thoughts regarding my own beliefs regarding why we're here, what's it all about. Anyway, now, we're at a crucial part in life. But we seem to be at a crucial, as I said previously, it's not even a crossroads. We seem to be facing challenges. And if you look forward, the momentum of fear is palpable. It's increasing in the world. If you revert back to the podcast when I started this 3 years ago under a different name on a different channel 3 years ago, I was stressing at that time the reason I had chosen now to kind of, to produce the channel, because I've been on this path for many, many years. Why now? Why now? Well, I started this 3 years ago because I was feeling, after the pandemic, etc., the fear in the world is being pushed and pushed endlessly. And if you don't get your mind together now, I don't know how you're going to cope, because I don't know how I would cope. I would be out there looking for my mind on the street. I would. I don't see my mind. I seem to have lost it. On a serious point, the momentum of fear being projected in the world, it's not going to decrease any day soon. I know I sound sarcastic. It won't decrease. It'll be continuing and continuing. And if you just look every single day, something else added on, and it's just piling on and piling on. Now, we're only human beings, each and every one of us, spiritual path or otherwise, on planet Earth. We're human beings, each and every one focusing on many aspects of life. If you look at 1 minute you're thinking it's the financial crisis, then it's the NHS, then it's this problem, then it's that problem, then who'll I vote for, who knows. Anyway, what will we do? And then you've got the latest update on the news, then you've got other things, it will continue. And it won't stop any day soon that I can hear or I can see. This is the importance. When I started this 3 years ago, I was saying, if you have not got your own mind under your own control, and if you're not taking time to breathe and think and see through eyes of clarity, and you're just following and absorbing all of the fear and absorbing all of this negativity, if you do that, why would you not be absorbing it? It's continual and it is relentless. If you're just this is just my opinion only. If you were just walking, and I often think if I wasn't on this path and I was just wondering about taking every day that's coming along, everything, trying to cope with life in general, and then watching this stuff that's getting thrown in, more in addition, majority of it's relating to health, your health. Many, many people in this world now are feeling very vulnerable on many levels. The financial crisis, people worried about their health, the impact of this, the impact of that. It's all negative. And when I started this channel 3 years ago, I said, I've been on this path for many, many years. Why now? And it was really just to share my thoughts, to give you my beliefs, to give you the tools that I use personally, to share stories, to remind people to think, just because you see something with your eyes in the world doesn't make it true. No. Many people, when they just see something and they assume that must be true, this is true, that's true. Fear sells. Good news doesn't sell. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you break down the word fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. If you let fear win your mind, you've lost. You've lost. So you can focus as much as you like on any other aspects of your life. You can, you can exercise, you can do this, you can focus on the material stuff, you can focus on, your external appearance, you can do all that. If your mind is running amok and you're allowing fear, as I said previously, if you're allowing fear to be your partner and your best pal in life, that's what it is. Because your best pal in life is walking and wandering this earth with you on a daily basis. Have you ever tried to leave the house and leave yourself in there? No, you can't do it. It's impossible. So wherever you're going, you're taking, if you call your thoughts your best pal, why would your best pal be your worst enemy? Well, you're making the choice. You can either have your thoughts as your best friend walking the earth with you, or you can have your mind as your worst enemy walking this earth. You're choosing minute by minute. Will I believe in, will I believe in the good? Will I believe in the positive? Or will I believe in fear? Will I believe in fear? Now, many people, even subconsciously, the fear is taking over their mind. They're wondering why they feel exhausted. I've said all this before, but maybe I'm hoping, just because of the times we're living in today, if you just have even a glimpse at the news. I try not to watch the news for obvious reasons, as I keep saying. A lot of the momentum that's poured on some situations in life. How do I say it? Over egg your pudding. Do you know that kind of thing? It's never kind of a small little bit of fear. Oh no, it starts off, if I go from the past to today, it starts off as a little bit of fear to get your attention. The next day it'll be padded another bit of fear until eventually the full momentum, great force of fear in the world. Now, you're the only person that can control your mind and your thoughts. And this is what I keep saying to you. There's nothing fluffy about being on a spiritual path, I can assure you. But it's times like now, because the way I would say this to you is, I more or less analyse everything in my mind that I'm hearing, and I break it down. And one of my mottos in life is, if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. That's as simple. And I'm only a mere human being. You are not. I am. I don't find that hard to believe myself. I shared your shock and surprise. Everything I hear in my mind, anything I hear that's out there in the world, we'll call it in the world, I think to myself, does this actually make sense? And a lot of the time it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I think, well, it's not true. Or if it's being, it's just exaggerated, something. And I can only give it to you from my perspective. I don't let fear be my friend in my life. And like anyone, when the intensity builds, you could easily slide back into that way of thinking. I'm determined that I'm keeping my mind on my side, So what happens with that is you start to look through different eyes in the world, and you tend to see with more clarity. If you allow fear to be your friend, it's as if your thoughts and everything are coloured in the world. You're not really seeing, life as it is. You're seeing life as you believe it is. So if you have the kind of nature where you maybe listen to all that's going on in the world, and everyone around you talks quite negative, and what about this, and people keep piling on, like the feather in the duvet. You might hear something in the morning and you think, oh, and it's like a feather, but you hear people saying, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. Now, by the end of the day, it's like a full duvet, because people keep adding on. There might be a little bit of truth in it somewhere, but then you look at the amount that they've added on during the day to the stories. Fear sells, and good news doesn't. Now, this channel is to remind you, although it's called Spiritual Wisdom, it's giving you the anchor that you need in your life to keep drawing you back and pulling yourself back in and thinking, I'm more powerful than I believe I am. I'm a human being on planet Earth. Why am I allowing fear to make me feel weak, make me feel vulnerable? I will make decisions that I wouldn't normally make because I'm making my decisions in life generally out of fear. I'm always worried what people will think. What will they think? I could care less what people think. I'll tell you that for now. What would people think? What will people this? What will people that? We're only on planet Earth for a little while. And if you've got time to keep looking over there and think, what are you doing with this? There's something in your own life lacking. All your focus should be on you, because I'll tell you, not that much, and not that much time ahead, you're going to need everything in your tank to get you through. And I'm not telling you something you don't know. Look at the momentum this is all getting thrown into the world. If you don't have enough in your tank, you really need to start, I would suggest today, to remind yourself who you are, why you're here. Build yourself up from the inside. Externally, it doesn't matter. If all of your focus is on what's happening on the outside of you, in the world, or even just in your appearance, or in this and this, and if you're inside, is a complete contrast to what you're trying to project into the world. It doesn't matter. All of that's fake, because when the time comes and the challenges that are coming now will take up speed, you're not going to have, I suggest, enough in your inner world, in your tank, to keep your emotions built up enough to get yourself through the situations that each and every one of us are potentially going to have to face in the weeks, the months and the years ahead. You need to turn the focus around and remember, this is why the expression is look within. If you keep staring without and your whole focus is, what can I have to make, look at them, they'll look at me and think I'm wonderful. They won't look at you and think you're wonderful. No. And if all of your effort and emphasis is on what your appearance or whatever it is in the world, the material aspect or whatever, that's not going to get you through. How is that going to carry you through when the challenges really, really hit? Do you know, surely you can look at the world now and see what's happening and think, what difference does it make, really? Of the kind of, if that's what you're focusing on in the world, that's not going to carry you through anything. So I would say, and the reason I'm stressing it now is you can see the fear now is starting to build. It's starting to build. It never really goes away. It never goes away. In the last number of years, the fear's always rippling. It's always rippling. It's always there. Look at this. What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? What if this? And it's always negative. It's always negative. But you can see it now. It's starting to ramp up. And the fear and the world and the whole thing. If you haven't got it in your inward world, you're going to really struggle, I would think. And this is why I call it the spiritual wisdom path, is to make you stop, make you focus on what's important in your life. Try and ignore the negative aspects, easier said than done, as I keep saying. I know I could get dragged into it on a weekly, hourly, daily basis myself, I know. This is why it's there. But this is where you're kind of, I don't like that word tested, but this is where it is. I could fall down every day because I meet people on a daily, weekly, hourly basis who I find, they kind of let you down or they kind of maybe offend you in some way. And it can be, you could really take it on board, really find it quite hurtful. All of those situations, what's your choice? You either drown in that type of thing or you move forward and you focus on the good thing. We all reap what we sow. And a lot of the time, that carries me through many situations because you think, well, it doesn't really matter. I don't really need to kind of fight my corner here emotionally. We reap what we sow. So whatever's in people's hearts going out the way is the mirror. Whatever's in your heart and coming out your mouth today, as I keep saying, words are cheap. We can all speak words. They don't have to be true. They don't have to be genuine. No, we can all just make up a lot of words and just spit them out there. Doesn't mean anything. It's the actions that you take. So I tend not to listen to people's words too much that way if I notice the actions aren't backing it up. So it's people's actions that will show you where they are in your life. People's actions that will show you, just there. That's the important part. Words, we can all speak words and they're very important to listen to people's words. But watch the actions of people. That's a very good one. It's a very basic kind of aspect in life. But if you're listening to people and they're talking and they're telling you this, they're promising you that, and they're doing this and they're doing that, watch the actions behind it. If the actions don't back up and the actions don't look as if they really genuinely care, or the actions don't really show what they're saying out of their mouth, it's not true. My motto in life, I always say that, if it doesn't make any sense to me, it's not true. If the words don't match the person's actions, either will. What's that? What's it all about? Anyway, yes, I do have a funny story. Where's her story? She started this podcast. She's got no word of her story. I do have a word of my story. Thank you, I do. But I just thought I'm building that part up because it's quite serious. I don't want to throw a joke in the middle. Ma, goodness sake, have you seen the world we're in? Now, I try not to look too much at the news, but there's times in life when you obviously can't really miss it, where when it's piling on and piling on. But those are the days that I really work on my inner world, and I'm still looking clearly through the world. I'm not getting, I'm not allowing the fear to overtake my mind. You hear people, and they're saying, oh, look at that. Oh, look at this, we are now. Oh, look at that. When people take on board that, everything they're reading, everything they're seeing as a reality, of course it's going to absorb into fear in your mind. There's nowhere else it can go. Energy. Your thoughts are energy. Your feelings. We are all energy. So whatever you're thinking, your thoughts are energy. So that's going to drop down to your mouth. You will start to speak out the words because you believe it in your mind. So where can they go? The thoughts in your mind, they'll drop to your mouth, and eventually you speak it out. It's just another energy. Thoughts in your mind are energy. You believe them, whether it's true or not, you believe them, and that's all that matters. So if you believe the thoughts in your mind, you will eventually, today, tomorrow, next week, you will speak it out in conversation. And that's another energy coming out your mouth. And then when you take the action, towards whatever it is, that's another energy. So we're all energy. This is where the reap what you sow. It's nothing majorly. That's it. Your energy, your thoughts, you believe them, you speak it out because you totally believe it, whether it's true or not, you believe them. You speak it out, and then you take the action to back it up, to prove it to yourself that you're right, that type of thing. And it'll go round like a boomerang today, tomorrow. So whatever you're doing, whatever you're saying just now, just think to yourself, this is coming back to you in the future. And if you don't like what you're saying, stop saying it because it's coming back in the future. It's energy. It's as simple as that. Whatever you're thinking, you will speak out. Whatever you're speaking out, you will subconsciously or consciously take the action towards moving towards it because you believe it in your mind, or you wouldn't be speaking it out. And then you're speaking it out, then you'll take the action, and that's where the reap what you sow comes in. So you're putting it out. So just think to yourself, do I want to experience what I'm just saying, or the way I'm behaving, or what I'm doing just now? Do I want to experience this in the future? Not really. Well, stop doing it. It's as simple as that. And you need to change the thoughts in your mind. Change that record player. How old is she? Record player? Goodness sake. Where's she come from? Space. Change the record in your mind. The thoughts, inner chatter. The simple way of doing this is listen to your inner chatter. Is it mainly positive? Is it mainly negative? And if it's mainly negative, you've got to start putting in new thoughts. Like, if you're planting seeds in the garden or whatever, those seeds, you've got to renew those seeds. And if you don't even need to tell anyone. Just think to yourself, how much of the thoughts in the inner chatter in my head, how much of it's positive, how much of it's negative? 50-50, you need to start working on the negative, trying to plant new seeds. Because those thoughts become words, become actions, becomes your future. As simple as that. And then if you think, how much is negative? 90%, for goodness sake. You've got a lot of work to do because you've just changed the thought because I keep repeating it. Your thoughts in your mind will become your words, will become your actions, will become your future. Because it's going into the world as an energy and it'll come back to you as an experience. That's what it is. Because it's a kind of an emotional energy that you're putting into the world. And the more intensely that you believe it in your mind, even if you're completely wrong, I know, it's hard to believe, but you've told yourself it's true. And generally, if it's running yourself down, if it's putting yourself down, whatever it is, or if it's your inner chatter and it's just, it's all negative, if you believe it, it's just emotional energy. And that's seeping into your words. And just think, eventually that's going to seep into your health. So if your inner world is chatter, it's negative, it's all doom, gloom, and whatever it is, it's going to go into your words. You'll speak it out, it'll become an experience in the future, but worse still, it'll drop down again into your health. You'll be tired. You might have blood pressure issues. You might have this, you might have that, because it's all pouring down, suppressed anger, suppressed emotions, and it's all just getting pushed down from your head, pushed down from your thoughts, pushed into your mouth, pushed out the words, pushed in, and pushed into your health. Right? Do you get it? I've been saying it for 3 years. It's important because when you look at what they're projecting into the world today, this is not going to get any better any day soon. This is going to build intensely. And you can see it. You can feel it. You can see it. You've got to get hold of your mind. You've got to remind yourself who you are. You've got to start looking at things. Don't take every single thing you see as, everything you see has not got to be true. I can't say that enough. Or it could be, exaggerated. It could be a feather in a duvet type of thing. There might be a little bit of truth. There might be analyse things a bit more. Think things through a bit more. Don't just let fear carry you like a wave into the sea. Stop and think and ponder. That's all I'm asking you to do. Now, I'm going to tell you a funny story. It's not a joke. It's not even anything. It's just a funny little story, and it's regarding a young man. And he was invited to a prestigious event. He was. It's not my fault. And he was invited to this kind of formal event. And he was feeling slightly intimidated, just because of the way human beings are. Because all of the people at this formal event tended to be kind of the high Hegians. And they were all very experienced and they had years and years of experience. And he was really just starting out. But he'd been invited along, to this event. So he was sitting there and he was already thinking, oh, right, what can I do here? They're all more experienced than me. They're all way here. This, oh, for goodness sake. So he decided, I'm going to show I'm very polite, very courteous, and I'm going to use my conversational skills. And that will carry them through, and I will make a very, very good impression. Now, see, to me, I would find that, now, I'll come back to that in a second. You could have as many degrees, more degrees than a thermometer, and I am not impressed. Good manners, I am very impressed. I know. I like good manners, I like courtesy, all of the above. Anyway, so this young man, he was doing the same thing. I will impress him with my good manners, show that I'm courteous, etc., 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 etc. I know, who was that? Sally Toy Cooper or something. Don't know why I keep doing that. Anyway, neither do I. So he was sitting at this table, and it was very formal. He was thinking, oh. So anyway, the host, the female host, started to give a speech. And it was quite a long speech, like yours just now. How rude. So she was kind of giving this welcoming speech, etc. Now, I know this is a joke, but this again wouldn't make much sense. Her dog, I know, she shouldn't have had a dog at the blooming thing, I know. Well, see if she didn't have a dog here at this event, my story would mean nothing. Anyway, for some reason, to make my story believable, the host had a dog at this event. I know, her own dog. So as she was giving the speech, the dog started to go underneath the table and wander down the table. And the young man is thinking, oh, please, just go to anyone else. Anyone, do not come to me at this table. Of course. So the dog comes to him under the table. And he is wearing a brand new leather shoes that were very, very expensive that he bought for this formal event because he wanted to impress him. So I'll impress him with being very polite. I'll impress him with my shoes, one after the other, because I don't have the experience of all the others. So he's wearing his very expensive leather shoes. And the dog comes down. And the host is still speaking. Oh, and he can feel the dog starting to chew his shoe. That's not easy to say. This is a Thursday, and I've been up voting as well. I know, goodness sake. Anyway, so the dog starts to chew his shoe. I know, I should have said boot or something just to make it easier for my life. So he's thinking, oh no. So, and because he's trying to be polite, he thinks I'll just have to ignore it. I am not interrupting the host in the middle of her speech. So she keeps speaking, and eventually she sits down. She says, thank you very much. And she sits. Was she Tommy Cooper as well? I know. Thank you very much. So she sits down, and as she sits down, she glances over at Simon. I don't know if that's his name. It just came into my mind. His name was Simon for this joke. So as she sits down, she glances across at Simon, and she thinks he's got a kind of pained expression on his face. And she's shouted over, Simon, are you okay? And Simon says, I'm absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much for asking. And she kind of keeps looking at him. She says, are you sure? So by the time she says, are you sure? All of them, everyone at the table, glances at Simon. He's thinking, oh, great. Oh, this is blooming lovely. And so he looks up at the host and he says, well, I would just like to, because he's still trying to be polite, I would just like to say that your dog has an exquisite taste because he has eaten the heel off my shoe and he is now onto my laces. Now, I'm nearly fit. No, don't wait for any do. I know. What was that, EastEnders? I know. So he says, he's eaten the whole entire heel off my shoe and it's now eating my laces. So everyone at the table starts to laugh. And she said to Simon, why did you not say before he'd eaten your laces and your shoe? So they're all laughing. And then they said, oh, it's your brand new leather shoe. And so he says, no, it's fine. And they were saying, is that just because you didn't want to interrupt? Now, the moral of my story, yes, there is one. They were saying, being polite and being courteous will carry you places in life where, bad manners, etc., you will lose points, and you might lose opportunities. We appreciate every effort you made this evening, but you should really have just said, your dog's eating my shoes, that type of thing. Now, that was it. It wasn't a joke. It was just a story with a little moral tale. Just thought that out. With a dog with a tail, get it? He didn't want to offend them. I know. And the dog, but why did she have a dog? I know. It's a joke. I know somebody was saying, that's terrible. What did you do having a dog? Why did she have a dog at a blooming formal event? And she didn't. That's a joke. Thank you. I know. Well, she would have been rude as well if she had to the dog. He could have turned around and why on earth your dog underneath the table, a big formal, prestigious event. Neither is, like I said at the beginning, everything you hear in life doesn't have to be true. Everything you see in life doesn't necessarily have to be true. It could be a feather and a duvet. This joke story thing is a feather in a duvet. Part of it's true, a part of it's had to be a little bit padded to make it a bit witty. Now, such is life. This is my point. That was my point. I'm leading into there. Some of what you see in life, some of what you hear in life may be true. Maybe not all. Maybe there's momentum added. But fear, I can't stress this enough. If you buy into fear, it just affects so many parts of your life. It'll affect your judgment, because you're making every choice and decision you make in your life, you will be making through fear sooner than trust. If you just trust in life and think, right, I don't know the answer to everything. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know this. All I can say to myself is, does it make any sense? It might make a little bit of sense. It might not make much sense. It might not make any sense. But you've got to kind of say it to yourself and think, wait a minute, I don't have to believe the intensity of everything. Just say to yourself, am I going to, I'm going to drown in fear over this? Am I going to believe every single solitary word that I'm hearing? And am I going to buy into all the fear? And then I'm going to be making every judgment from here on in through fear, through panic, my inner world, your emotional energy and level will be at zero. Your tank, if it was like a petrol tank, except nobody can afford to buy petrol at the minute, your petrol gauge will be very, very low. Well, so everybody else can't afford to buy any. I know. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know what I mean. Your emotional gauge will be very, very low. And if your emotional gauge is low, every decision you make in your life is at that level. Your self-esteem will be down there. Your decision-making will be down there. Emotionally, you won't be aim very high because you won't think you're worthy of anything. So everything is all you do. Look at the impact that has in your life. If you allow fear to be your best pal, it'll steal all of the energy from within. Your energy, your decision-making, the whole thing will be like a petrol gauge at the bottom. You won't be aiming very high emotionally in life. You will take scraps that are offered. You will just take this. You will just take anything that's kind of there because you don't think you're really worthy. Now, consciously, you're not aware of that in your life. But how could you? How could you feel you were worthy if your emotional gauge is at the bottom, or even quarter of a tank, half a tank? And it's impossible to go through your world with fear as your best friend and for your emotional gauge inwardly to be anywhere apart from half a tank or quarter. Otherwise, you're just trying to project into the world a false version of yourself. You're trying to make the external part of you look into the world so that people are looking at the external part. They're not really. If the inner you doesn't match what you're trying to show externally, it's palpable. It's very, very obvious. The simple way of doing it, you often hear people saying, I don't really get that. I think that person feels quite fake, that type of thing. That's just that because the energies don't match. If the outside is one way and you're trying to project an image on the outside, but your inner world is the opposite, people pick up the energies of people in life. So that's how people have taught you, maybe even you, if you're out and you're speaking to people, you think there's just something there, not right, something quite fake. That's because the only easy way of saying that, the energies don't match. You're trying to project an image of you in the world, but in your mind and inwardly you don't believe it. So your external you doesn't match the inward you. I'm very, very interesting. I could go on for hours. So we see. By the way, before I leave you, talking about, yes, I can. I'm intending you will be able to see me live. I know. I'm thrilled myself, as I keep saying, because of the intensity in the world, because of the world that we're living in, because of what we can see what's coming, I will be arranging, for you to be able to see me live. And I really hope you get out there and when we can still get out there, I know, you know where I'm going. I will be doing something live and I'm putting there because I want people to be able to, see me in person sooner than just doing the podcast. So that's my plan. I was going to do something anyway, but I can feel the intensity in the world. The fear is starting to go again. And I feel this is why I started the channel 3 years ago, was to try and help people emotionally, try and make you think, try and make you look and remind yourself who you are. Trust instead of fear. You've only got 2 choices. You might just say, oh no, I'm just going to fright myself to death. I can't do any more than try and suggest to you. You'll make the final decision if you're going to let trust or fear win your mind. I'm the same. on a daily, weekly, hourly, second by second basis, I am deciding, am I allowing trust in my mind to be the winner, or am I allowing fear to be the winner? And I'm the only one that can make that decision, same as you. You can think, listen, I've had enough of this fear in my mind. I've had enough of this low self-esteem. I've had enough of all of this stuff that affects me inwardly. And today it stops, and I'm going to just trust. I'm making my mind up to trust. I'm not going to allow fear to be my friend, because it's going to steal my health. Apart from anything else, it steals my health, it steals my energy, my inward tank up at the bottom, my decision making is gone. That's all of those points. That's what fear will, the impact it will have in your mind. So it's not a throwaway line. Every part of your mind, if it's drowning in fear, your judgment's off, your decision making's off, your low self-esteem, everything, and you're trying to make it look on the outside. You're trying to make the outside look as best as possible when inside doesn't match, and people will pick it up because the energies are off. And the only person you're upsetting is you. So sort your inner world. I will be going live. I will. I'm determined. I'm going to be seen live. You'll have to get off your couch and get out. I know, this is the thing. You will want to do this, because the world that we're going into is not a wonderful place, and you'll want your mind under your own control, I suggest. Thank you for listening. I know, look at the time. Thank you for listening. Look after each other. Take care for now. Bye-bye.